Hello there and welcome to stage 5 of the No Pins Super League 2. Today we're in sunny San Diego on the Fiesta Island circuit. 33.2 kilometers in length and 106 meters of elevation, so going to be a fast and furious race ahead of us. As we look back to the current standings, so in the Platinum Gold after stage 4, top 3 Igor Kops, Rasmus Feldbauer and Jan Vanner. Kops about 4 out of 4 so far, so I'm sure there's a lot of riders there ready to try and take him down. Then we've got Beams, Vesper, Mard, Hedderdam, Highball, Plager and Gab Ash rounding out the top 10. In the Silver Bronze we have top spot going to Klaas Vanner, Kevin Barkley and then Saad Carradine in top 3. Followed by Bering, Keeble, Steinley, I should be able to say his surname since he's in my team. We only just call him Snickers. Caruso, Ferrari, De Begar and Braham. And now we have the team standings. So in the Platinum Gold, we have No Pins R3R, closely followed by ECKD after their great team work last week. They've closed the gap on No Pins with the Pedalers in 3rd. Silver Bronze, Team ADR, taking the honours with ECKD Silver again, with Bat Amen in 3rd. So again, we're just past the halfway mark in the whole series. There's still lots of points up for grabs and any of the positions we've just seen can easily change. On to today's course, like we said, we are in San Diego on the Fiesta Loop. Out on this little island here, going to be quick and there's quite a lot of corners there that will hopefully provide some little attacks from people coming out of that. As we know with RGT, with the slowing down and the way the dynamics work, crit courses are generally pretty intense. They do mimic the real life very, very much so. As I came to realize, just because it's flat, it does not mean that it's going to be an easy roll to the finish. I'm sure there's going to be lots of guys in that pen who are going to want to try and split this up, either for solo or hopefully when we go to the pen, we're going to see a lot of teams in there. And that's where the tactics will all come to play. Zoom room tonight, we've got the ghost of John Beams, Doug Hart and Igor Kops. Now there he is with a minute to go. John is jumping on. I hope he's been warming up beforehand, otherwise his leg's gonna feel that. In the pen, 65 riders, if I can squint enough to see that. We've got taken out a couple of cameras, but it's still a great field. So there should be a big bunch as we roll along this. First lap or so, everyone will be sussing out the corners where they want to kick, because as you can see at the bottom there, we are pretty green throughout. So any little advantage you can get, whether that's, you can just see that very slight undulation, whether you kick there, whatever corners naturally give you that advantage where you want to kick out. First lap, people are probably going to suss it out, and then we start to see riders who may have done their homework on this start to use it to their advantage as we hit the start. Red numbers as usual, everyone always giving a good kick to make sure they hang in with RGT. As long as you do a good 10 seconds there, you're always going to stay involved, but it's always worth doing it, because last thing you want is to not pay attention and suddenly you are out the back and game over very early on. Okay, and you can see on the left as well and on the front of your screen, there's a good few ECKD riders in the pen as expected. They will no doubt be using their team tactics here, as we see there's a good 3 in at the front there trying to control it already. As Doug Hart, we can tell by the little top there, is pushed to the front, and then Cal Sagney and Varner as well. So With flat like this, it's going to be flat, lots of riders naturally rolling through, even if you're not putting in a lot of effort in. With the way the physics works, just like real life, you're getting that draft benefit and you're going to push through. As I say that, I've just seen Greco go into red numbers as he goes off the front, but he's eased off straight away. Whether that was him just off the back and he put a red in to get in the pack, but he's proven me wrong as he then shoots up again. I'm hoping that's not going to keep appearing and he's not going to do that throughout the whole way, because that's not how you ride on RGT if he's going to keep doing that, so let's hope he doesn't. Anyway, pack have caught up to him and we see Van Bears on there for Razio. Newcomer, I haven't seen much of Van Bears, but we do know Razio have a good squad available, so hopefully there's a few of them hiding in there. And that's always the thing with these types of races as well, it's the people who you don't see until the last few K who've been keeping their noses out of the wind, keeping themselves fresh, that can cause the most damage. And ECKD top 4 there, putting in the red numbers, putting in a bit of attack there, trying to split it up. We can see Headerdam, Holst and Hart getting a little gap, with Pedersen and Brearley closing it down. Varner and Zach Harner as well from No Pin, so they've got a few out tonight as well. So it's great to see some teams are all involved here as they are trying to shut it down. So they're making it across. Top 6 are kind of together, and you can just see the rest of the pack is slowly bringing this back as Pedersen keeps the pressure on. That's always the gamble if you're in that little mid pack there of, okay, the pack's gonna bring me to them, but if 1 or 2 decide to start leaving that wheel, as Cop slingshots exactly like that, someone uses the pace there, as the rest of them slow up and ease and thinking we've got them. Someone comes over the top, as you can see Cop's there in his pain cave, out the saddle, putting in the effort, trying to see who's going to react and who's going to bring him back. Cop's in the front, and we've seen Mard has then jumped onto his wheel. Red numbers all behind as it kind of slinks out. Varner is just about to bridge across Østergaard behind, and this is it. If you're in that where it's ones all strung out, you've got to be careful. When it's like this, you do not want the person in front of you to decide, actually, I'm going to let someone else chase, because once that wheel is lost, especially with someone like Cops on the front pushing the pace, those gaps can grow, especially if you're one of those guys who wants to keep his powder dry. You can't afford to do that in these sort of quick, fast races. As we see, slowly being brought back now, and then this would be the tactic, is now a different team. Well, even though Cops is solo going for it for himself, but you want to see an ECKD, an Opens, an ADR, someone just coming over the top now, not really letting it settle, because like I said, there are people who are going to be hiding about. You want to try and get rid of them. Each attack that you see on RGT is just in with real racing is going to hurt the legs. So the more you can do that, naturally there's only so many matches, as we always refer to it, there's only so many matches people have before they are burnt and their legs give up. That's what you want to try and do. If you're aggressive, and if you're the commentator, want to see lots of attacks rather than people just sat in, absolutely, that is what I will be hoping for, because you don't want to just see everyone roll around for another 30k, do we? And I'm sure that won't be the case, as we see Doug Hart there, and then ECKD rider Christensen pushing the pace on the front, not massively, must have just rolled through there. He's sitting 300 to 400 watts. It's not, it could be a deceptive one, that one, because rather than just hitting the red, because normally if you're in the pack you watch for the red and you respond, whereas that slow attack, I say, you needed to really keep that on. Whether that ever works, someone just trying to sneakily go off because he's not on red, people leave him and the next minute he's got a good gap that he can put the pressure on. However, he's quickly eaten up by the pack, and it's probably going to take that, to be honest, with the pack being 30s to 40s probably still. You're going to need a big effort to try and make that elastic and that pack dynamic snap. as we've seen a couple of times there, when it strings out, what you're hoping for is someone not to be able to hold that wheel in the chasing group, as Tim Cook hits the front for 3R. Good to see a few of them in tonight as well. And the Moon Riders in Shack, as we see an ECKD just going around the side of there, whether that's an attack or just coming through. Looks like they just pushed the front, as John Beams decides he wants to have a go off the front, hitting those high numbers. It's got an initial gap, as Brearley decides he's the one who's going to jump across to that. Beams is a good rider. When you're doing on RGT week in, week out, you get to know the riders to watch out for when they make an attack, the riders who can probably hold it if you were to get a little group of you away. So when you see someone like Beams go, you've just seen Cops respond, Hart respond, Highball are third place from last week. So the names you tend to see, the guys know them, that if they jump off, that great, let's work as a team and try and hold this away, as Highball has pushed the front and is keeping this effort up. It's strung out slightly at the back, but again, what you need is that wheel there behind Varner and Hart, as Hart has a little look behind him. You just want that guy in blue there, one of the ADR boys, to just give up, because that's where they bring the pack back there. And that's what Cops, who's now hit the front, wants to realise, as we see Mike Aid, his matches have been burnt, and that's what's going to happen. These guys who are slowly can't respond each time to it, as I see Toffoli and Plago at the back there. Two strong riders, and like I said there, I've seen them now. They're very good, got good sprints on them, so they're probably looking at that they're going to sit in that pack and keep their noses dry. So whether we see them later on, we see a Razia rider there, Krajewski, just be in distance, and that's it. These constant attacks wear the legs, and there's only so many you're able to do before you end up slowly watching the pack disappear. There's nothing worse when your legs just won't allow you to, and that big pack dynamic is taking the riders away. So that puts us with just about 30 odd in the pack, as at the front it looks like the pack, the attacks are still going, because red numbers are needed to bring it, as we see Terry Wilkinson. So as that all comes back, Wilkinson decides he's wanting to keep the pace going, so it's his turn to put in the effort, as it looks like the Mod is going to close that gap quickly down with Holst on the wheel. And that's it, where you saw at the back of the pack there with those stragglers just trying to make an effort, trying to get back into contact with the group. That's when at the front you want to put the pressure down to keep that pace up, so that once that proverbial elastic band is gone, it just demoralizes that person, realizes nope, can't bring it back, and that's their well, it's not their night over, absolutely not, because with having a good field of 60 riders, and what we've seen all the time, just because someone's not in the front group doesn't mean they're going to get a good race. You'll see lots of gruppettos form, work together and have your mini races. So even if you're not battling the front, you can battle all the way down to 60th position, absolutely. So we'll be going through the pack and making sure we can see all those little battles. I'm sure Damon will as well. It's always good. Like we say each week, just because you're not at the front doesn't mean you're not going to get some screen time on what you're up to, absolutely. So 25.7k to go now. So we've finished one lap. Guys will recon the course if they weren't just seeing red all the time, as a probably a little lull there with the front pack. We can see, as we were talking about, a little gruppetto. So quite a few there of ECKD, probably their silver guys who are currently in second. There is in that very dark navy dark blue, they are the ADR guys as well. That's their competition for the silver. At the front here, where we can see there are a few ADR riders in there. So they are going to, ECKD, hope that they can try and shed them from the group. Because ECKD are in both gold, platinum and the silver bronze, and they haven't made it easy by letting us know which one they're in. I have no idea if the guys in the front group are the gold platinum, or there could be some silvers hiding in there. So we'll just have to see what happens in the results. But absolutely, ECKD guys there, working together, as we said, and they'll probably just be trying to pick up any of those riders that find themselves in no man's land from the main pack as they drop. You know, absolutely, if you've got, what's that, seven or so riders working together, they will catch up the stragglers from the guys who pop. So even though I say we're 24.5k left for them, does not mean that their race is over. They will be able to try and eat up an extra few places from the guys who drop from this, because I do expect these to keep attacking each other, and like we said, just see guys who can't hold it and will just drop from the pack. It's unfortunately what happens. As we see, still kind of rolling through now, whether there's not many attacks. So this is what happens: you get a good flurry, and then people start looking at each other, saying, "Oh, I've attacked me, now it's your turn to do something." Where I say all these team tactics start coming into play as well. If ECKD, we saw no pins go off the front, we've seen the ADR, so as well as your solo guys like Beams, Cops, they're all putting efforts in, and it's those ones who I've kind of mentioned, but I haven't seen them at the front, who are sat in there getting a little free ride. It's the other team's job to get rid of them, you know, at the end of the day. As we're looking at the other little groups, like we said, a foreman, 53 down to 58, 59 there, I think, working together, and that's it. Just because you're off the front, find groups where you can. You have your little mini races, as it were. These guys are going to work together, which you can see them coming through, and then because of their good work, they'll hopefully, one, be rewarded getting to the finish line quicker, and two, hopefully pick up some riders on the way. As we see down to 58th with Forsyth there. Oh, 59th Strike. That's a tough place. So 60th Alsop. So if Alsop can put in a good effort, and that's exactly what I want to do now, is get on his wheel, whereas you can see Strike putting in the red. He's going to have to make an effort to jump back on there, because you can see the little pack just off the distance, which is probably why Strike is giving a good effort, because he knows if you can get back in there, you'll be able to rest up easy and take a good breather while the others do the work. As we come back to the front, Fellbauer and Cops comes over the top there, guys who we expect to be at the front making the moves. Cops comes to the front, hitting 6.1 kilos, 500 watts. As we see him there, grinding it out on the front, making it look easy. As he just sees off to see who's going to come over the front. Is anyone going to carry the attack on? As we can see, Mard comes over in the red, pushing that pace there. Because if you're towards the back, you probably think, oh, it's going to ease up. That's when you keep coming over, keep increasing that pace. Don't let the guys have a free ride to the finish. As we see, Tim Cook has come through, but just eases as he goes there, probably just to make sure that his power came through so that he was safe. Happy to sit back in the group because Tim's got a good sprint on him, so I expect that he's going to be wanting to stay in this pack, keep dry like we were saying, and then have a good effort at the end against these guys. So you can see at the bottom there, quite a few white dots are starting to be spread about the course profile. Those are riders who unfortunately aren't in our main pack here, and that's what these attacks are doing to the group. So even though you might not be shedding your main competition, you'll be getting rid of a few guys out the back. Okay, so as I say, just a little lull here where we're at 21.6k to go. And on cue, Fellbauer puts in a good effort there, 8.7 watts per kilo, good big effort there actually, to try and make that break. And as you'll see, none of his guys will be chasing. If anything, what they should be doing is kind of rolling to the front, just making a nuisance of themselves. Because again, with the way that it works, it's real life. If you get your riders to the front, ease up, and if you're second wheel, that will take all the momentum out of the guys chasing. And that's, as a team, what you want to kind of do. If you see a rider off the front, slowly roll yourself to the front of the pack and then ease off, as Pedersen must be listening to me, as that's what he's doing. You see them roll, kind of get towards the front and then just ease. A bit harder when the guys know exactly what you're up to, but that's the tactic you want to see. As we can see, I think that was one of the Varner brothers hitting the front for no pins, not wanting to let Feldballer get away, and that's it. Once you start seeing a couple of reds in the pack, everyone starts getting a bit jittery, a bit nervous, wondering who's going to be the wheel to jump, as Zach hits red for quite a bit there. Looks like now he's the one going to try and bridge it across, as he's got a little gap, as Beams is going to try and get on his wheel. And that's it. The pack has to respond at some point, because it's okay maybe having one while you roll through. You do not want a group, especially Feldballer, Beams, and what was that, Cops, but it looks like they're just going to jump on each other's wheel to get to there. As we can see, there goes the rest of the pack. Brings it all together with 20.3k to go. As we've got our multi-screen on there, right hand side, we can see, well, as we say that, he's cut across. Sorry there, Damon. Yep, so we can see multi-screen there. We've got our battle. I would assume that's our second group on the road on the top right. It's got about 8 riders or so working together, trying to, like we said before, catch any guys who can't keep up with the top group. Then we've got, bottom right there is our main group from up top, and then bottom left is another little group on the road working together. Okay, and as we look at our pain cave again, Beams, Hart and Cops all taking the chance to a breather, as we're all together again, rolling through until someone decides it's their turn to have a go and see if they can split, as Hart does roll through. Hart, seen him many times before. He's a main guy in our Isle of Man series. Great engine on him, strong rider, loves his TT efforts. So I'm sure if he was allowed to get a good gap off the front, we'd see a good sustained effort from him. But likes to animate the races, although he's not politely pushing too much at the minute. I'm sure if he gets a chance to go off the front, he will. So another guy to keep an eye on as the group swallows him up, and Terry Wilkinson rolls through. So we're 2 laps down, 3 more to go. So you can see everyone at that point catching a breather, looking at each other, seeing who's the next one to go through. So we still got quite a few from ECKD, a few from No Pins, 3R riders. And now, as I mentioned 3R, we have my co-host apparently who's just joined the room. Are you there, Moti? Apparently should be there, but I will keep talking as Terry goes off the front. So Terry's putting a good effort now. 30 meters. Tim Cook is the one to respond. Interesting. I suppose no love between 3R and No Pins there. And Doug Hart chasing down. Terry putting in a big effort here. That's a good sustained one. Still keeping it on. That's a good gap now. So the guys out looking around, and as you can see, there is a big response from them. Not letting that come. So this is a big effort from Terry, as Cops now comes to the front to try and bring it back. Slowly getting eaten up. It looks like Cops is going to bring it back, but again, as I said, it just needs an easing up, but it looks like it's going to be tough to break him. See, now this is where someone wants to come through over the top, as Cops keeps it on. There you go. See, someone there's just sat up and let that wheel go. So if these 4 now realise and take advantage of that snap, they could have a good go. As Mo, we're going to try again. Moti, you there?
Yes, hello, good evening.
Yes,
sorry, I had a few
there he
sound
is.
problems there. Evening, everybody. Sorry again for my tardiness. What I love to come and see is the first thing I see is Terry Wilkinson on the attack. You just love a bit of Terry Wilkinson attacking for no pins.
Absolutely, yeah. So Terry started the attack. It was kind of brought back between Tim Cook and Copse. Then someone just gave the wheel, just let it go, and they have a little break, but it looks like the pack is determined to bring them back. There's just to catch up, Moti. There's been constant attacks going. There's been plenty of them, which is doing more damage at the back. I'd say quite a few people dropping off. You know, all the guys here know each other. They know who they don't want to go off the front. So matches are being used quite a lot throughout. So it'd be interesting as we see there's a few more no pins in. There's ECKD, ADR here, 3R who you've seen. As we see Miller hits the front for the first time mentioning him. So it's those sort of riders as well. There's quite a few guys who are keeping their noses dry, who I haven't mentioned yet. As we see Calsagni go off the front, which brings a lot of response.
Sounds like a new form of pasta, that guy, doesn't it? Mr. Calsagni is kind of a bit dyslexic with cheese and mince, isn't it, off the front there? But it's not surprising that we're seeing these constant attacks. It's exactly what we expected, wasn't it? This flat, fast course. This is a great course for these repeated attacks. I think one of the things with these courses is you see these real high-intensity attacks, but then it's very difficult to sustain them because of the speed of the pack that closes them down. But what it does do, as you rightly say, is it just whittles that pack down, just rider by rider, and so you eventually get that front group just becoming smaller and smaller and smaller with every circuit that we do around this lovely sunny island in there.
Yes, as we see Terry again putting in an attack. It's just gone off the front and got a 20-meter gap. So that's what we kind of keep seeing, is someone will attack, breaks up a little bit, or it's either a catapult after it, and that's the damage, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to burn the matches of the guys behind who can't keep up. As I still see, who I mentioned before, Toffoli and Plager, I mentioned because I've raced against them, and I know at least Plager's got a very good sprint, and Toffoli's not half bad either. They seem to be hiding in that pack because I have not mentioned them apart from when we've been focusing on someone getting dropped. So those are the type of people, not at the front end of it, making the attacks. They're the ones keeping themselves dry, relying on the others, using them to bring them back. It's a gamble because obviously if you see a couple go off, then you're going to be sprinting for I don't say minor placing, but you're not sprinting for podium. But if it all comes together, like we see with a lot of flat races, then they position themselves well, and the tactic may pay off. But like we said last week, flat on RGT does not mean easy, and it certainly hasn't been, because these guys have been relentless in their attacking.
Not at all. Look at those figures on the left-hand side. We can just see how these red figures just popping in and out of the display. So everybody's taking the turn on the front. Terry's doing a lot of work there at the moment. Igor Kopp's looking very aero, so he's obviously in it for the win yet again, going full out in his garage and his aero top, definitely looking the business tonight. But we can see even stronger riders like Pedersen. We know Pedersen's certainly no second-class rider. He's kind of dropped off the back of this. It just shows how relentless these attacks are. And if you're just caught unawares, if you're just kind of snoozing off the back a little bit, trying to recover from the previous attack, before you know it, you're out the back.
Yeah, I know, and that's the game he plays. Next, we could just see Bergqvist. That last couple of attacks seems to have taken him out. Vigneault as well. Like we were saying before, that's the worst thing you can see, is just your legs not having anything left in it from these repeated attacks, and seeing that pack slowly edge away. So we're down to 25 in the top pack.
So what you want to see in this middle section of the race, if you're a racer, you expect the first third of the race just to be fast, furious, relentless. Everybody's just sizing each other up, trying to get into the front pack. And then normally, middle bit of these races, you often see things just settle down a little bit. People are kind of maybe playing a bit cagey, and then thinking for that final third when they start making these attacks again. So it'd be interesting to see whether this third of the race, this portion of the race, we just see things settle a wee bit, or whether we continue to see these relentless attacks. And as a rider in the pack, if you're not one of the stronger riders, you do not want to see somebody disappearing off the road 25 meters, because you know that the pack will chase them down and you have to follow that work. So this is be interesting to see whether we see these relentless attacks continue to happen, or whether we see teams just settle into this pack at the moment and leaving some of their energy for that last third.
Yeah, that's it. And team tactics as well. We've seen Terry be the workhorse for no pins so far. So I've seen Avon. I don't know if both are in here. I think that's Class in there. We've seen Zakana, Brealey's there as well. So is it going to be someone else's turn in the team to start attacking? ECKD, Felbal has been doing quite a few. Is there a couple in there? As Brealey is obviously listening to me, and he doesn't like the fact I've said he's not been doing much, he's gone to the front to make an attack.
SB does like a bit of an attack, though. One of his favourite phrases is breaking the elastic. So there he is, trying his hardest to break that elastic. Let's hope he doesn't just break his own elastic and end up with these bib shorts around his ankles.
Well, we've got 5 there that have made an initial break. So Felbal, Brealey, Back, and who's that? Beams and Hart as well. So that's it. But do they let them go? Who's going to chase them down? There's only so many times a rider's going to want to be the one to bring everything back. That's when people, like you said, start looking at each other. And the guys in the teams are the ones who kind of have to bring it, as we can see, Plaga, Ørstegård, and this is the damage it does behind. If you wait for too long, everyone kind of sits behind the wheels expecting someone else to do it, and then not, and then suddenly everyone starts to attack, and then it's panic stations as you're frantically trying to get that draft wheel to stay in, which we can see here with a few riders just spending their matches there to get back in the pack. And then what they don't want to see is another attack go off the front.
Absolutely, there. Pasta Man was simmering around the front there, wasn't he? I don't think he's quite gone to the boil yet. Let's see if he's got a 10-minute boiling section to come up to actually get him to full, complete al dente, ready for the sprint finish. And whether he'd be there at the end or whether the likes of Ego Cops will be there, I'm fairly sure he is. Zach Khan is obviously playing a nice, sensible game, letting other members of the No Pins team just do some of the attacking. And I completely agree, there will be some very strong team tactics going on here. Everyone will have their job in these bigger teams, knowing who's going to attack when, whose turn is who, to try and save the stronger guys for the end to actually bring in the points for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. As Mard, who's never one to sit in the pack and be quiet, even though he is he's a solo rider. He could just sit in like the others and try and let the other teams do the work. He's always one who likes to animate these races, as he's brought Highball and Holst with him, but it looks like it's got a bit of a response.
Absolutely. What's great to see as well, these guys who really like a bit of attack, the likes of Highball, as well as Mar, John Beams as well, Felbala, they all still, even though they do a lot of the attacking, they're still very much reckoned towards the pointy end of the race when the knuckle comes down, which is great to see. So even though they do a lot of the work early on in the stages, they do manage to save enough energy to give themselves a chance at the end. And that's always a really good example of a strong rider who manages to pace their efforts really nicely.
Yeah, as we can see, Felbala and SB have jumped across here now. So if they put in a good effort, the guys behind are looking about. I can see a 1.52. There's some guys that are looking at each other thinking, who's going to bring this? As Felbala keeps the pressure on. Now, if these 3 guys put in a good effort there, and the rest behind sit and look, as it looks like Cops has now hit the front and realised that he doesn't want to let these guys go away. Looks like they might bring it back, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Absolutely, when you've got big teams when you've got big teams like this, what they can afford to do is they can afford to do two-tier attacks, to send somebody off the front, let them try and split things a little bit, just sit in the pack, wait to see what the pack does, and then launch a second attack from the pack to close down the front group and make that front group a bit bigger, that chasing group a little bit smaller, and that always creates huge difficulties for those guys at the back of the chasing pack.
Yeah, absolutely there, because you could see there was a bit of hesitation there on who was going to bring it up and look about, and that's the moment there where you just need that bit of luck, where one rider looks at each other and they decide they're not going to bring it down, and if you're at the front with about 4 of you and get that 50-60 meter gap of a good strong one, that's the danger that this pack has. If they let a good select few away because no one wants to be the ones to bring them back, that's ultimately what you're gambling on, and that's why these guys keep attacking. It's hurting the guys in the pack, and also you're playing that roulette of who are you going to be the lucky one where they let you go away.
Absolutely, and what's really nice, if you are the one who's kind of disappeared off the front, you just like to see maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 wheels around you at the front, knowing fine well that you've got a little bit, you're giving that pack up something to think about because there's 3 or 4 of you, and it just means that you don't have to absolutely bury yourself to create a little bit of animation in the group. SB's race is obviously clearly he's done his work, his race is over. For the chasing points, he will continue to work in and see whether he can just pick up some valued points for the team, but some great attacking from SB. His job is done for today.
Yeah, and it looked like that was a Veric. I apologise, I think that was his name also, who in 24, so that means we're down to 23 riders in the pack. In terms of teams, I think we've still got Enopins, Hana, Wilkinson and Varna, so that's probably why Braley, I call him Braley, SB, I never call him Braley, SB he was allowed to do a bit of attack and closing down, and then ease off, get and roll in, because there's 3 still left. ECKD, I'm going to say they're going to have 3 riders about. I can see 3 in the top 10 there. So those are the top 2 teams that are fighting in the gold and platinum. Quite a few 3R riders in there today as well. And I'm trying to look. There's a few other ones. Whether there's 3s, I don't think there's a 3 else in that pack, but could be wrong. There could be some hiding somewhere, as Terry again hits the front and trying to see if he can sneak off.
What's good to see is, as we kind of observe some of this pack with the coverage there, is just looking at some of the power graphs that we can see on the top left of the screen, and just seeing kind of what kind of efforts these riders are putting in. Those riders who are tempering their efforts well, who are not putting the efforts in, not trying to be spiky, their graph will be up and down, but certainly not hitting those big red spikes that we're seeing some of these guys like Terry and like Hendrick, who we know are putting big attacks off the front. That is a great leg sapper. This is what creates the fatigue in the muscles. That's what causes them to eventually burn out and lose the wheel at the end. It's these repeated attacks, these repeated spikes in power. If you can manage to just be patient, be sensible, temper your efforts to get back into the chase group, that often can save you just those last few watts of energy that you might be able to burn off in that last 200 meters and win the sprint.
Absolutely, as Doug Hart now hits the front, putting in a concerted effort here, and so he is in the middle of our screen, going for it. So as we've seen Doug before on some of our series, always likes attacking. As he seems to have brought, Terry's kind of closed him and what brought him as well. Are they going to leave him? Oh, look, he's smiling, he's enjoying it. He's loving himself off the front. Hopefully he's listening in. As either that, or he looks like smiling, or very, very smiley grimace. Maybe just smiles through the pain.
I think he's loving it there. He's loving this little tete-a-tete he's having there with Terry. Him and Terry just changing the baton every now and then. It looks like he's got a confetti cannon on the front of his bike there. He's just waiting to set that confetti cannon off as he passes the finishing line. Is Doug looking very comfortable for all the attacking he's doing at the moment? So has he put enough energy in, do you think, or is he just saving himself a little bit for the end?
Doug's usually there or thereabouts. He's got, I say, seen him before, good engine. Who doesn't mind me saying, he doesn't have the best sprint, so he's likely a rider to try and give an effort before the finish, try and be a guy to try and sneak away before the final few kilometers, I would say. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're all still as a pack to see someone like a Hart, Ahmad, a guy who wants to try and nip off the front rather than let the big sprinters who are keeping themselves nice and tucked in this pack.
Absolutely, it's going to be able to have a proper stealthy attack to be able to disappear off the front of these guys and get away with it and carry it off. You need to go really early. So, you know, we do see sometimes these attacks going off 1k to go to the line. In this kind of race, 1k to go to the line isn't really going to be able to hold it. But John Beams there, great to see John coming off the front from Pedalers, following in from Hart, creating a little bit of a gap. Is anybody going to try and pull up and join him, or is the pack just going to gradually reel it in, which I have no doubt they will?
I say that they took a while to decide who's going. That's it. They're taking a while on who's going to be the one to bring them back, and that's where these gaps can open. And all you need is that. It's the pack to sit and look at each other for a good while someone like Beams, who we know can time trial as well, suddenly see that gap grow. But like you said, there's quite a few riders here that'll be on Discord, especially the no-pins, the ECKD. There's a couple of riders there, the ADRs, 3Rs. You'd have thought they're going to send someone to go bring them in, but then, like I've just named a few teams, they might be wanting the other team to go chase them, and that all plays into Beams' hands.
Absolutely, this sets up really nice. You've got a gap that's big enough now for a second concerted attack from the front of this pack to actually get a team attack going. So it wouldn't be surprising if we saw 2 or 3 riders from No Pins, 2 or 3 riders from ECKD all going off together as a team unit to try and close John down and create a small chasing group. That would not be surprising me at all, and we do certainly see the pack are now starting to respond.
Yeah, we are on our last lap, and 5.5k. That on this course will go very quickly. You can't afford to keep looking around and wondering who's going to be the one to take him. Someone has to be. Whether they try and nick off the front and try and join them, get a 2, but that 30 meters is starting to come down now. As strong as Beams is putting out an over 5 watts per kilo effort. Just that natural pack, the guys coming through, just tapping as they hit the front. They're keeping them in distance. I just can see someone putting in a good 10-second effort and closing that down. It's just whether the pack responds to that. As it then hits the 40s again, you just don't know.
Absolutely. This is not too bad from the pack. So the pack can make John suffer out there for a bit longer if they wanted to. The danger is, which is what we can see now, John continues to put the effort in and that gap doesn't come down. So the pack are starting to realise that they can't just let him sit out there because he's John strong enough to TT at home. They're having to active closing down, which the ACKD team are doing now. Headedam may be a Moon Rider. Oh no, ACKD. And Shock, what a shock hitting the front.
Yeah, and that's it now with one of the teams. I'd expect, as he has done there, that's perfect. As the group comes and catches him, people kind of want that natural rest. Don't come over the top and see if they'll let you go instead. As Beams, warm from his early TT effort, is the one jumping on his wheel and trying to see if the pack will let him go again.
Yeah, that's fair play to John after putting in a good attack, managing to close Shock down, and I suspect that this is going to be the start of a number of repeated attacks. This pack will close these 2 guys down, and we will start to see riders taking their turns, attacking off the front, hoping to create a bit of a space. I can't see it'll be a Shock if Shock does carry this over to the line. I can't see that happening. I'm fairly sure that we will see some of these stronger riders closing this gap, which is what we're doing now, and further attacks coming over the top and taking the front.
There you go. Yeah, as Falbala is the one to do it. And yeah, as you said, I can expect 4k to go now. It's close enough with these sort of riders. They're gonna, it's those guys who don't want it to be a 1k sprint. As you can see, Doug Hart, like we said, is going off the front with an attack there. So Doug Hart, Falbala and Erstegaard has managed to time that quite right and jump on the right wheel. Guys there, no pins, realising that they've not got a rider up. So there's a few of them there coming to bring that back, as it's Terry, the workhorse, on the front, trying to close that down because you don't want those 3 off the front. And like we said, I expect this to be just punch after punch to see if someone can stay away.
Absolutely. And this is where panic stations can set in the pack at the start to see that race isn't quite going according to the plan of the team. We can start to see some of these teams falling apart because the race tactics don't work, especially when the likes of Pastor Boy there decides to put in a good effort off the front there. Certainly bubbling there is Calzagni. That's a good attack he's put in there. Look at that gap he's created already. Is anybody going to chase him down? That front pack, and nobody's going into the red figure to close him down. They have to start responding if they want to close that guy down.
No, they're all looking at each other with 3k to go, and that gap will grow. Yep, someone needs to, because he's solo, because he's not maybe one of the guys who's so far featured in there. They might be kind of leaving him not as quick to respond as it maybe would be an ECKD, a Beams, a Cops. But if he keeps putting that effort in, we've got 2.5k to go. Who's going to be the one to try and jump and catch him? Now this is what he wants. As we see Highball realizing, I'm going to try and be the one to jump, going off the front for ECKD.
This is a good. Yeah, Calzagni holding there 7 watts per kilogram off the front there. He's managed to sustain those red figures. So to close that down when the front guy is holding this power is certainly no easy feat. And he's got a 100-meter gap to the chasing pack. That's a big gap for 2.3 kilometers to go. And this is going to take a really concerted, coordinated effort from all of the challengers to really close them down.
Yeah. Whereas the guys, they seem to be looking at each other. No one wants to be the one. It's probably got too big now. You've got to have a sacrificial lamb, as it were. Someone's got to really bury themselves to bring that in, because it's going to wind up at some point, and their speeds will increase. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sure he's about 100 odd meters now.
Oh, he's well down the road, isn't he? Now there's certainly maybe the pack have actually realised that that's really an unassailable gap now, and they're now just going to start toying with each other to pick up the rest of the podium places. Igor Kops, we know, has got a strong sprint. We know that he will be faring at the end. We know Zach's got a strong sprint as well. And few of these guys are all strong on that last 200 meters, so they will be fighting it out for positions 2, 3, and 4. Because I cannot see anybody closing Calzagni down.
Yeah, I say, as we see, Falbala realising he wants to be the one to try and jump it.
Now we're seeing a big reverse look. Calzagni's down into the white figures. The rest of the chasing pack are nearly, for a minute there, for a second, they were all in the red. Every single one of them realised that they have to now start putting this effort with just over 1k to go. This is where we will see the pace ramp up. This is where we will see who is going to position themselves ready for that final 300, 400 meter sprint. This flat, fast sprint is going to be lightning quick to the line, I expect.
Yeah, so everyone's looking at each other. I don't think he's going to. He's not going to get caught now with that distance, and I think it's the race for this. Yeah. As we can see, he's gonna roll to the finish. It looks like.
Absolutely, Calzagni's got no beef with anybody in that pack, and he has just shown that he is the bechamel rider in the pack today, taking it off the front with 100+ meters to the pack. So he's going to cruise it in there in the green zone.
Okay.
Is he going to showboat it? Right, here we go. We got 300 meters to go. Nobody's making a move at 300 meters to go. Somebody has to jump. Who's going to be the one that commits first with these 300 meters to go? Somebody has to actually commit.
Yeah.
Now we can start seeing Felbala hitting the front of Holt's Cops.
Cops. Oh, all the numbers are going now. Here we go. Oh, it's going to be close.
Oh, it is. Has he done enough? He's
Big
having
numbers.
to respond.
Oh,
has he got it? This is going to be absolutely tight. Oh, he just manages to hold on from that chasing 3 or 4 riders.
That's going to be close with the guys behind. I think that Varner took Cops there. I think he got the inside of the corner on that one. It could be very close. I'm seeing a 3 over him, so whether he changed there, but Yeah.
And look at that, we got what, how many riders there? So at least 10, 20 riders maybe finishing within at least 1 or 2 seconds of one another. An absolutely classic pack sprint finish. Almost got Calzagni, to be fair. He was almost caught, very, very close to getting caught.
Yeah, yeah. So between that, very, like we said there, who have we seen? A few names there, like we had mentioned that I was saying about, kept their noses dry. Plager, Sesson, hadn't said his name. Stimpson, Harner kept himself pretty quiet as well. So riders staying in for the sprint there, because it was a fast one, and if they played their cards right there, hidden, wait till the finish, and put in those big efforts.
Absolutely. What's really, kudos to Terry Wilkinson, who has been attacked from the minute that I stepped, into the mic all the way through to the end, managing to come across the line in the top 10, which is an unbelievable effort for Terry, considering the work that he put in on attacking and trying to break this pack down in the early stages. And here we've got the final 20, or the first 20 crossing the line already. It just shows how tight that end was. Calzagni taking the win with a strong break, almost was caught. Klaus Vanner, we know Klaus has got a great sprint. He managed just to pop Igor Kops on the line, who was sitting in the pack waiting for the sprint. Fellballer again with some good attacking. Pleasure, well, he did fared a little bit, and Sesson as well in 6th. Highball 7th, very strong attacking. Zach Harner, I think, was just playing it relatively safe today, just waiting in the pack, waiting for that sprint. Didn't obviously quite either have the positioning or the legs to close down those places on the podiums.
Yeah, so as we could see, Calzagni getting provisional win there, with Varner and Kops rounding out the podium. So yeah, all across the line very quickly. At that group of 5 seemed to come together, and then everyone else behind making that little gap there.
Fast and furious, wasn't it? Which is exactly what we expected. We knew it was going to be fast. We knew it was going to be furious. We knew there was going to be attacks going in left, right and centre. Those flat courses are just great, especially with these guys, because we know we've got a number of really attacking, aggressive riders coming into the No Pins Super League Series, both from Series 1 and Series 2. We've still got them coming in, and it makes for such exciting racing. Nothing is absolutely guaranteed in these races. Everything goes, and anybody can take it on the line, as we've seen there today. Igor Kops was kind of finally ousted from the top spot, which is great. Another new name on the top, and it just shows that these races are always absolutely wide open.
Absolutely. It's what's great about it, isn't it? Kops 4 out of 4, but as in, Kops still a great rider, coming in on the podium there. He'll still take that, I'm sure. But that's it. Anyone can win on the day. Good tactics, a bit of luck, and it's always going to provide the platform for the shake-ups throughout this. So, like saying at the start, when you look at the league tables, just because someone's a bit lower down doesn't mean when we get to race 7, race 8, they might not be higher up the leaderboard fighting for a good position.
Absolutely, and it's great to see Team Taxis being able to really truly be employed, and we could see that very clearly in the race there today, with No Pin certainly putting in a lot of the team attacks, Pedalers doing the same, ECKD. We expected of these strong, very well organised teams, and they certainly did not disappoint us today with some of the action that they put in, certainly in the second half of the race that I was able to join you for.
Yeah, so as you can just see top there. So yeah, it'll be interesting on the team points as well, because like you just said, we had Klaus, Sack, and I think it was Terry was around there, was it? Or was it? Oh no, Terry was up there. And then you've got Rasmus, Highball, Fleming back there. So team-wise, especially in the gold platinum, is going to be interesting. And there was a few ADRs left, as well as ECKDs. Bit harder to distinguish who's in which team, but I'm sure, as we see an ADR in Caruso come over the line, there'll be some interesting shake-ups.
Yep, and that's what makes the series so interesting. This is not just individuals; this is also the team, which is where we see these team tactics. Even, and all teams have certainly got a good chance. Restart Racing, they've always got a strong showing in these races. ECKD as well, ADR, No Pins, Moonriders, Peddlers, all great team tactical teams. Always got plenty of riders in to create a little bit of excitement. Good to see some of the individuals as well coming in. These unknown names certainly do shake up the pack. It's always good to see somebody who nobody knows coming into these races, just shaking things up a little bit, just evaluates things. And that's, look at Dulac there, just cruising along. What he needs, all he's missing is a basket and a little fluffy dog on the front, and that would just be absolutely, or maybe with him being a Frenchman, just to be completely stereotypical, as a baguette hanging in the basket off the front of his bike there, tootling through the French countryside from the RGT French team in 42nd position, still putting in 4 watts per kilogram, so he's certainly not out there for a Sunday ride up into the orange zone, making sure that he finishes strong with less than 1 kilometer to go. What is that bike anyway? I am impressed. That's a fine looking machine he's on there.
So it's not similar to a Buffalo bike or anything of that sort of nature.
I think it is actually the Buffalo bike.
Yeah, come on, Moti, you should know that.
Well, that's very true. That is the Buffalo bike. See, I didn't recognise it without the bell. That was missing. That's missing from it. It's terrible. He's riding illegally there, bless him, without a bell. Get that man disqualified, even though he's in 42nd position. He looks very comfortable on that bike. But you can see this is he's out now in no man's land, nobody around him. This is always difficult, these races, because things do split up loads.
Yeah.
And he's obviously had this. He's been soloing for quite a while as Mr. Dulac, but he is about to come himself home, and he's putting in the red effort to the finish. So even though he's got nobody to sprint for, he's still putting in the effort, making sure that he gets a fantastic training effect from this No Pins Super Series race.
Yeah, good to see, as you said there, good to see. Doesn't matter where you're finishing or who you're finishing with, even if it is no one, putting in a good effort all the way to the line. Well done, Dulac.
Next week
yeah, go on. I'm sorry, mate. I knew we were going to talk at the same time there.
Next week we have the fantastic Norwegian loop, chosen by Eric, and this is another loop, but I think it's just not quite as flat as this week. Would that be right, Matt?
Yes, yeah. So you can see there we had, I think it's about 106 or 160 from my mind says, whereas this is 453. I'd ignore for some reason that Relive seems to have done an extra bit on that loop. I think when I was talking to David, there's a bit of a bug there. You are only doing an actual complete loop. You're not doing any extra. We're not throwing that curveball on you. But yeah, 39k, 453 meters of elevation. So there are going to be some more platforms for those attacks to appear, which I'm sure the guys will provide for us.
Oh, absolutely. And this course, looking at the profile, just looks like a reject Toblerone. It's just up and down all the way. So we are going to see just attack after attack after attack. And we're going to see every single hill is going to be absolutely horrible for anybody riding in their pack. We are going to see a huge race of attrition. This is just going to absolutely decimate the leading group at every single peak that we hit. And I think we must have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10, 11 good solid peaks on this course, on this loop. So we are I expect this front pack to be whittled down to maybe 10 or 20 riders coming up into the final uphill finish.
Big prediction, Moti. Yeah, well, again, I'm sure they're not going to make it easy for each other, as we've seen throughout the whole series. So yeah, going to be another great watch, I'm sure, with riders trying to sneak off for that win on that little kick. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Indeed, a great race there today, though. Looking forward, and now we got the final results coming through for today's race. Good to see Pastaman Calzagni there in the front, 5.18 watts per kilogram. Need to verify that. New name on the list, so we will see whether these provisional results are the final results. Klaas Vanna with his strong sprint coming in second. Kops still managing to hold the podium position, dropping a few points today, but I'm sure he'll not lose any sleep over that. Felbella strong as usual. Pledger, Sisson, Highball, Harner, Simpson and Bach. With a Symphony in 10th position. Terry was demoted there from 10th. He must have just fractions of a second. It must be absolute thousands of it. It is two thousandths of a second behind.
799, yeah. Close.
That's very, very close. Greg O'Malley and Toffoli into the top 13. Doug Hart, some great work by Doug in attacking, some great stuff by him. Ostergaard and John Beams, again, we saw John putting in some good attacks. Rob Miller, 3R, putting in a solid performance there today. And Henrik Mard, another one of our very attacking riders, coming into 19th. Hedderdam in 19th and Kevin Barkley taking 20th position. I'll let you take the second 20.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eddie. So we can see 21 all the way down. We've got in that little group finishing off our main pack in Shock, Holst, and just a couple of seconds after it was Tim Cook from 3R. 24th, we have Brearley, did his work and then say rolled into the finish, along with who we saw kind of drop around the same time, Versich. Got a little group there, Vigneault and Bergqvist, followed by Pino Ferrari and Kurt Pedersen. 30th, Dupin, followed by Poulsen, Caruso, Krajewski, Mike Aid. Oh, you're giving me the tougher ones here, but Moti, Zinchenko. I apologise for these horrendous names that I am the way I'm pronouncing. So we saw that group all come around there. Kragland, Greco, Van Bers, and Ryan Denau, Simonsen in 40th.
Really good racing. Nice to see a number of foodstuffs as well making in there. So we've got a pasta taking first place. We've got a biscuit in 30th. It's always good. I'm now getting quite hungry for my tea now commentating on that race. So after hope a great race there today. I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys really putting it through the pain next week. Let's see some more of these riders on Zoom. It's great to see Igor, Doug and John on Zoom. Let's see some more of these riders as we can see this beautiful, I don't think that looks much like San Diego there. Can't see the river. I certainly can't see that seaside, but certainly was a very exciting race there today. Thank you very much, Matt. Sorry again to be that little bit late, but great to enjoy that second half of the race.
Absolutely, pleasure, Moti, and I'll see you next week.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it as usual. Fantastic. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you very much to Damon for his streaming today. Thank you, Matt, again for hosting brilliantly as he has done, and that fantastic racing knowledge he has, and me bringing complete nonsense to the stream as I always do.
Moti.
Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy your riding, enjoy your RGT racing, and stay safe. We shall see you next Monday night for the next round in the No Pin Super League Series, round 6 in Norway. See you then.